Hey, everybody.
All right, all these guys on stage get up and go to work every day, and they're doing it, okay? So we're gonna ask them a series of questions and let them explain how they're getting it done, all right? We're gonna ask them, each question we're gonna pick one person because it's not gonna go forever. So Dan.
Yes.
Okay. What was the exact moment you realized my paycheck alone won't build wealth?
Good question, Pete. So, I actually bought my first house back in 2016, and I didn't even live in it. I actually bought the house next to my parents' house. I rented that house out, and then I worked, because I worked in construction. I moved to Astoria, and I lived in Astoria while that house was rented out. Then, COVID happened. Me and my wife were like, it's time to start a family. Those people moved out, and the second I got back in that house, it was the first of the month, and I realized, oh my God, there goes my positive cash flow. Something needs to happen, something needs to change. And that was the exact moment where I kind of knew what to do, but I really didn't, because I just bought the house and stuck people in it. I didn't know how to build a business until later on.
Anybody else want to answer that question? Anyone? All right.
I got to remind myself what it says. Now, I got 12 years in law enforcement in NYPD, and I think it was probably about the time during COVID when I saw so many people out of work, even though I still had a job and I still went to work. I had that job security. That's really when I realized, though, that even though I had job security with a W-2 job, getting a check every 2 weeks, it wasn't the answer. Obviously, everything that we're talking about today, financial freedom, building that nest egg for your family, you can get it other ways, but real estate was the way. And I saw a lot of people get laid off. I saw a lot of people lose their jobs, go on unemployment, and it was just one of those eye-openers where you just had to say to yourself, you know what, there's something more to this. There's something more I got to do for myself, for my family. That's pretty much what, made up my mind.
All right. You're still working full-time. How do you carve out the hours for hunting for deals, contractors, and tenants? Officer Cruz, can you answer this?
Hey everybody, I've been a police officer for just about 9 years now, and
yeah, thank you.
So what I do is I had to actually sacrifice some time that I would have taken to work overtime to make some extra money, and instead of working overtime on my regular days off, I would take that time to either go online, cold call, go walk properties, door knocking, and all of those things to try and get these deals. And that's what I did to try and get these deals.
Okay. How has that affected your life?
Right now, it's amazing because right now I've been able to acquire 4 properties so far, 4 rentals. Thank you. I've partnered up with a bunch of people, a bunch of my coworkers, a bunch of people that are actually sitting down right now in the stand right now. So I've been grateful for that, and grateful for Pete for letting me come up here, and I'm just so glad that I was able to partner up with them and make it happen.
Yeah, I love that. So that needs to be clear, is you don't have to do this alone. Officer Cruz and I'm sure a lot of these guys here have worked with people that they work with, that they're able to borrow money or be partners or something. So you don't have to do it alone. This is what this community is about. Thank you. All right, so who wants to answer? What belief about money or risk did you have to completely throw out? Tim, you have an opinion on this?
Absolutely, yeah. So growing up, my father was probably the most risk-averse person I've ever met in my life. And it was always, put aside your money, invest in your 401k, don't spend things frivolously. and work till you're 67, and then hopefully you have enough to retire and sail off into the sunset. I pretty much had to scrap that when I realized I wanted to get into real estate, because that's just it's not the way. You have to take risks if you're gonna make anything of yourself, if you're gonna get ahead. But what I had to learn was that they have to be calculated risks, because then you mitigate that risk. You bring it down to a level where it's acceptable, where you know what you're doing, and you have escape strategies. You can, you get a property. You're not tied to one escape strategy. You could rent it. You could sell it. You could rent it long term, short term, mid term, whatever. Subject to any of these strategies to get out of it. So, the more you know, the more you can mitigate that risk.
I love that. Actually, Gregory's 21 years old, by the way. I don't know how many times I could say this. He's 21 years old. He owns his first house hack. So, the beauty is he actually might have been too inexperienced to be scared, right? So, Gregory, can you tell us, because his dad almost punched me in the face for trying to get him into the house that he's in, because of this risk-averse feeling that we all have as middle-class people. Gregory, what is your understanding of the money mindset, and how did you feel going into this and throwing yourself in this?
So, as you and I have spoken about several times, Pete introduced me to the idea that people fall into this concept of having to constantly put down principal into their mortgage payments, having to put as much money into any sort of payment as quickly as possible to get out of that debt and get out of that area that you constantly feel like you're unable to escape from. But if you follow the steps properly with buying the first home that I was blessed to be able to be working with Pete with, the tenants and the people that are around me and supporting me, and the people that are able to pay me to live in my house, I mean, for a low cost. It's wonderful. But they take care of me, I take care of them, and the idea that you have to constantly escape and get out and move as quickly as possible. I mean, if you fall behind the idea of renting properties, you can make it work. It's incredibly, not to say easy, but it is possible. Not having the knowledge of saying, oh my God, I'm going to lose everything, I kind of just went for it. And I had Pete backing me and telling me that, this is all going to work out, and this is the first step to achieving lifelong comfort.
Yeah. Well done, man. Okay, which creative funding move, the 203K, HELOC, private money, made the biggest difference, and why? Who's got an opinion on this? Tim, we'll go to Tim, and then we got a few people. I think we're hitting nearly everybody here.
So my first deal I did with the 203K, as Matt Picara was saying, and the reason I did that was because I bought my house, my original primary residence, in 2012, and everything was still really low. Interest rates were good, and I got it for a great deal. And right around COVID, prices were through the roof. So I was like, I put some money into it. I built some equity. I was like, let me sell this thing. But then I realized, okay, now I have to find somewhere to live. And I didn't want to buy on the top of the market. So I was like, what am I going to do? So I found the 203K, and then I found Matt, because Matt's an engineer. He's systems. He's, step by step. He knows how to do these things. I'm an idiot fireman. If the house isn't on fire, I don't know what to do with it. So I realized I gotta figure something out how to leverage this. So the 203K for me was the best way to use as little bit of that profit that I had made and get into it, just to leverage it completely to the gills and get the biggest deal I could and make the most equity I could. And $500,000 in equity later, I did it. So
I love that. Let's go down the line. Pass it off to Cruz, because I think everyone here has something creative that they've done.
Yeah, so right now, the strategy that I'm using right now is called creative finance. So pretty much is either seller finance or called subject to the existing mortgage. And what I pretty much did was, during COVID, as interest rates were creeping back up in 2023, there was a house in Connecticut that was on the market for over 6 months. And I reached out to the agent and I pretty much just said, if I give your seller their full asking price or more, would they allow me to make payments to them? And the agent didn't really know too much about it, so she just gave me the number to the seller, which is rare that happens. So I know agents never give out the numbers to their sellers. So I spoke to the seller directly, and I pretty much just said, listen, I know you've been trying to sell this house. You haven't been able to sell it. I'm willing to give you your full asking price or more, but I'm not gonna give it to you right now. I'm gonna pay you overtime. And months of me and the seller negotiating, we finally came into an agreement, and I actually got the deal paying him $50,000 over asking, 10% down, a 2% interest rate, while rates at the time were like at 8-9% for a regular loan. And that's how I was able to get my first creative finance deal, and I'm still doing that now, and I'm partnering up with other first responders to tackle those deals and lock them up.
Well done, well done. Tom, you're a lender and you own rental properties. So maybe
So I'll touch on the lending part.
Yeah.
I ended up taking a HELOC out of my primary residence because the rates were so low. And once I met Pete and Vanessa and I realized I could lend that out at 12-14%, my borrowed money just makes money. So I have a huge network of investors that would love to take a piece of my money at a 12 or 14% rate, so that way they can use it to invest in whatever the deal that they have. And in turn, the returns that I get, it's just paying dividends on my money, which is insane. I don't know if we spoke about it yet, but self-directed IRAs, convert your IRA into self-directed, use that money, lend it out. Same thing, private lending, 12-14%. You don't have to worry about what fund you're in. American Funds, Fidelity, they control your money. They put your money in their funds and make money off of you putting more money into their funds. It's crazy. Just you take your own money and you put it where you want. So talking about creative funding, if you don't know how to get it yourself, you can become a funder for other people's deals, which is a way to invest in real estate without having to deal with finding the deals, getting the appraisal, all that good stuff that comes with it, which is easy once you have the systems in place. But a good place to start is to utilize an IRA, deferred comp, or if you have some equity in your house, pull a HELOC out and lend that money out at a higher percentage. And you'll be surprised that it's actually a super easy way to make money in real estate.
Yeah. I don't know if Gregory even know you did a 2 or 3K loan, Gregory. That's his. He had one loan. It was a 2 or 3K loan. Well, you need to say it? You want to say anything?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to work with Sal and his team very closely. They helped me establish the 203K loan, along with the 203K way. And I had the opportunity to be able to borrow most of the money that I was able to put down into the house, and I had very low out-of-pocket cost. And over time, it has still been making me money, and it will hopefully continue to make me money for the rest of my life. And I plan on retiring early because I don't want to work forever. So,
Yeah.
and I can't imagine any of you do either.
Yeah. All right, Dan.
Are you guys ready for this one? Because this is probably one of the most creative types of maneuvers that me and Mr. McDermott pulled off over here. As I mentioned, when I did come back from Astoria back to Long Island and I wasn't getting the rental income, me and Tom were brainstorming about a year how to invest in real estate, started reading all these books, blah, 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 blah. So I have a cape, I built an apartment on my second floor. Tom over here lived upstairs. Tom also lived in his primary residence at the time, but then Tom put his house for rent. So Tom was collecting rent. Tom was paying me, living upstairs. Simultaneously, as all that's going around, Tom is using his HELOC, I'm using my HELOC, and we bought a rental property. And this is the kind of strategy. There is, like, how Matt was saying, you want to use your leverage. You have to get creative. It is not like, oh my God, I need $100,000. Me and Tom figured it out and teamed up. Now we have this rental property that sits there, positive cash flow, building equity, and that's it. I eventually kicked Tom out because he was just he was coming home at 2 in the morning, but that was a whole other different story. He works late, he's a cop. But these are the tools, and this is how you get around us. We'll get that head rolling and see what's going to work out for you guys.
Tim's got to add something here. Well done.
Another financing hack. The last 3 deals I've done using seller financing, and I think that's got to be the most powerful. And I was in negotiations trying to use hard money on this beach property that I have in Jack's Beach down in Florida, and it wasn't going through. The appraisal wasn't coming in where we needed it to, and I just asked the seller. I said, "Hey, would you like to hold the note on this?" And he was like, "You know what? Yeah, sure." And now since then, I've done. I'm about to do another deal with that guy using seller financing as well, and I've done another seller financing deal on a land deal in Pennsylvania. So that's one of those things that if you don't know unless you ask. You never know what your seller's motivation is. Maybe they want to make a little bit of interest. Maybe it's just easier. So that was another one.
Yeah. Okay, biggest mistake. Share one screw up that hurt and exactly how you fixed it and how to avoid it next time.
I'll give that to one of the cops then, because I don't make mistakes.
That's because you don't got time. You're sleeping all day. Man, one of my big mistakes, I think a lot of people can attest to it. Money, you could always make money back. I think it's about overcoming the fear, starting earlier. I know a lot of you guys here now because you're trying to learn. You're saying, hey, listen, I got to get my foot in the door, figure this out. I mean, I wish I did this I wish I was 21 buying the house. I wish I did a house hack. I wish all these things, So I know I can say that those are mistakes, but of course I didn't know that at the time. But moving forward, I mean, really any mistake you make, they're learning lessons. You hear it, fail forward to success. You lose 20, 40, 50,000 on a flip. Guess what? You'll make it back in the next one. So in terms of mistakes, I think the biggest thing to mitigate them is really to get a good community, a good network. Like Pete is incredible, answering all my questions. I go to his flip classes, his masterminds with Vanessa. I think it's the last Wednesday of every month, right? You guys have, Matt?
Last Wednesday of every month, yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's great, and it's just one of those things where you're going to make mistakes. You got to make mistakes in everything in life, relationships, jobs, even driving, car accident. Oh, my mistake. But as long as you're not putting yourself or your family in physical risk, getting some money lended by some not so nice people, everything is a good mistake. So I'll say though that my biggest one is probably just not starting sooner, just letting that fear, letting that uncertainty kind of consume me.
Anyone else?
So this was kind of the mistake that almost could have been detrimental and probably turned me off to real estate completely. And I want to share that. So me and Tom, when we were both looking for that rental property, we were really trying to find the right fit and everything. Me and Tom had no problem dropping $200,000 on a rental property. But for some reason, talk about hiring a coach and a mentor for $5,000 was out of the question. And I'm not telling you to go run out there and pay for a coach. I'm telling you to find first the correct coach and mentor. Do not go online and start finding these gurus. You got Pete over here, you have to vet these people. And we almost bought a house, me and Tom, that could have flipped us from real estate completely and put us in the hole. But my coach that actually runs the East Coast RIA, which you guys should all be joining after this meeting, Carl Chavone, he's my coach, and Tom's coach as well, he was able to guide me, and I didn't pay for him yet. He said, Dan, this is not a good deal. You have no idea what a good deal looks like. Why are you going to drop $200,000 on information you do not know? And that's when it dawned on me, like, holy moly, I'm about to make the biggest mistake in my life, buy this property and never invest in real estate again and never think about it ever again. So if I do have the near miss or almost the biggest mistake is number one, hiring a vetted coach and mentor. I think after 2 sessions with my coach, with Carl, and Tom can attest to this, we got our money's worth. We got our money's worth right off the bat, so.
Yeah, I 100% agree there. Well said. Yeah, we need some clapping for that, because that is how you go from me grinding 20 years to me knowing I could have learned it all in a year. You know, the mentorships and the groups that Vanessa and I have joined have had a tremendous change in what we've done. That's something I wish I did much, much sooner. All right. How has real estate investing affected your home life and your well-being? Who wants this one?
I'll do it.
All right, we got Dan. Dan?
I'll do it. So, my wife Alexa here, she's here. Give her a round of applause, because she is truly, when we talk about real estate investing and lifestyle, without her, I am nothing. I really am not. She is the backbone. She is the one that encourages me. She's the one that pushes me to that next level. She always has. And she does the hardest job on the planet, is taking care of our 2 kids that are 2 and 1 years old. And I'm going to tell you flat out, it ain't easy. It's extremely difficult. It's very hard to navigate, but my wife sees my vision. And yes, there's a lot of problems, and I can sit here and tell you the glory stories of the paychecks and the money, yes, but there is pain and sacrifice that does come along with that. But even last night, we got into an argument earlier yesterday, but then by the end of the night, we're just hanging under the table. It's me, my daughter, and my kid, and I looked at my wife and I said, I'm sorry. And she said, I'm sorry too. And that's my team. And that's, when we talk about work-life balances, it's tough. And egos and all this, you gotta set all that aside and see the bigger picture. My wife sees the bigger picture, and it is very hectic, but the important thing is coming up with a system and time management and coming together either with your partner, your family, your kids, whoever, whatever you got going on in your life, and understand that you have to time management and set time blocks when you're gonna invest in real estate, when it's time to hang out with your kids, okay? And those times too, it's like my kids go to bed at 8 o'clock or at 7 o'clock, and then I'm up until 12 o'clock running numbers. And that's the sacrifice that goes along with it.
Let's, Officer Cruz, I'd like to get this to you.
One question that I always, that any investor should ask themselves is why? Why are you gonna do this? Why are you gonna, get into real estate investing? And my biggest why was when my son was being born. He's 2 years old now. My son was being born, and I paid for a mentorship, and it was like 2 years in, and I still didn't get my first deal. And I was stressing out. My son was about to be born. I needed to come up with like money to, support him, support my wife and everything like that. And that's what kept me pushing, my why. It was because of my wife, my family, my son that I wanted to support. And I put my head down, worked hard, was able to find my first deal, and got it going to now, expand into other deals. And, a big reason for that is because of my wife. My wife, I love my wife to death, Kimberly. She actually left her dream job of becoming a police officer to, support me and support, us getting into real estate. And, now she's at home with the kid, and that's a big reason why I keep grinding, keep going. And if I need to pick up an extra shift while I'm also managing the properties and everything like that, I would do that because of the why. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
As a firefighter, you see, a lot of retired guys are dying of cancer, 9/11 related illnesses. You see, you're on the job long enough, you see one of your own from your own firehouse go, somebody that you worked with. And I got to a point where I was like, I want to do something. I want a career path that I can do until the day I die, not something that I'm going to die from. And it just hit me that real estate was the only way I was going to be able to do that, to get out of this earlier than, after 30 years of doing it when I'm 60 years old now, and, how much is left after that. And then, I was about halfway through my 203K project, and I was in a motorcycle accident, and I got busted up pretty bad, and I was out of work, and then whether you're for it or not, I'm not trying to get political, but the vaccine mandate came down, and I wasn't taking that, so I because of real estate, I was able to leave my job, and I was able to relocate my family down to Florida, and I'm almost at a point where I can retire my wife now too. So real estate has really, really changed things, for my family and for myself. So.
Anyone else? All right. So I have one last question for everyone on the panel. What do you want to make sure before you leave here today that our audience knows? What do you want to leave them with? We can start with you, Tom. Start with you, Tim.
All right. I would just say, the risk is there, but don't be afraid of it. Don't give in to your fears. And, don't take advice from anybody that's not trying to do what you're trying to do. They don't know. They don't know what the possibilities are. They're not trying to do it. They have their own path. You have yours. That's why you're here in this room today.
Yeah. Well done. Officer Cruz. Pass it down.
I would say just understand that you do not have to do it alone. You can find a very good deal. You can be that one person that finds a very good deal and presents it to someone that has money. Or you can have the money already and network and meet people that are already doing deals. If we do like a show of hands right now of how many people have deals right now versus how many people have money, if you guys want to do that, we'll do that. How many people right now have a deal that you would love to, present, and you guys have an offer pretty much accepted and everything? How many people have deals actively doing?
5 this month.
Right? And how many people have money readily available to invest in deals right now in the room? So those people
with making deals, I love it.
Let's start making deals right there. So you do not have to do it alone. You can network, meet people, and you can even put other people's money to work on deals. So you can be the middleman and connect to people, and you can also get a profit from that as well.
Well done. Yeah. Tom.
I think the 3 biggest things is to educate yourself. Come to meetings like this, your local RIA, YouTube, Bigger Pockets. That's where I started. Read as many books as you can, and then surround yourself with people like Pete and Vanessa and Matt and Sal and the people that are in this room tonight, that we're here to help each other out, that we're not in it for ourselves, we're in it for each other. That networking aspect of it is going to exponentially advance your progress in real estate. And then from there, so you don't feel overwhelmed by it, just get 1% better every day. And then come the end of the year, you'll see how far you've really come from a day like today. And you'll be surprised. Just a little bit every day. That's all you need.
Well done. Gregory.
One thing that I've personally learned is trying and failing is the best thing that you could do. If you screw up in the worst way possible, the only thing that you can learn from that is how to avoid it in the future and how to fix it if it, God forbid, happens again. And if you try and fail, the only thing that you can ever do is get better at what it is that you're striving for, such as real estate, flipping houses, finding out that one of your renters is having an issue or anything of that sort of nature like that, and just getting better, always improving, always striving.
Well done.
So, everybody, I got two things I want to say. Number one is I am Dan, the podcast man. I do run a podcast called Highlighting the Journey. Pocket Pete, a lot of episodes, is my co-host. And what we do is we dive into entrepreneurs, people that are trying to do better, the real stories that will encourage you. And yes, I want to promote my podcast, but at the same time, I hope it will utilize and help you. If you've got something to plug in, check it out for that. But here's my advice to everybody in this room standing here today. When you woke up this morning, okay, you had 24 hours, right? You got 24 hours realistically, okay? What can you do in those 24 hours? And that's how simple it is. Do not overcomplicate these things. Do not think too much into the future. The anxiety will cripple you, and the fear will cripple you. But if you compact of saying, okay, Sunday I'm going to be here at the Working Guide event, that's it. You've done your job for today. Tomorrow, what are you going to do? Read a book for 10 minutes? If that's it, that is it. Do not overcomplicate because our minds get skewed. Stop watching other people too that are living different lives. You have your own lives, your own problems, the way you live. Okay? And my best encouragement for you out there is take those 24 hours and ask yourself when you wake up in the morning, what can I do today to better my life? Thank you.
All right. Well done, guys. How'd they do? Yeah. Can you see that you can do it too? All right. Thanks, guys. Put your chairs back.